Irma death toll rises to 31 across 3 states. The death toll from Hurricane Irma in the United States continued to climb Thursday, with at least 31 dead across 3 states. In Florida, 24 people have died in connection with the storm, including a weather-related car accident in the Florida Keys and the 8 people who died after Irma knocked out air conditioning at a nursing home in Hollywood. The latest death blamed on Irma was announced on Wednesday night by the Polk County Sheriff's Office, which said a 7-year-old died from carbon monoxide poisoning after a generator was used inside her home. Officials in Monroe County, Florida, which includes the Keys, said today that 7 others died in the county during. It was unclear how many of the deaths were storm-related. 4 people died in South Carolina and 3 in Georgia, officials said. The county said search and rescue teams are going door to door today in the hardest-hit areas of the Keys and that military personnel are helping with the search. Patricia Morrow, a resident of Isla Morada, a village made up of multiple islands that are a part of the Keys, works as a housekeeper and stayed on the Keys during the storm, taking refuge at her employer's Isla Morada home. We knew that it was going to harder to come back home to see what we had left, so we felt safe here, to be honest, she said. She described the storm as surreal. The water was just taking everything out. There was sand everywhere. There were people's belongings just flowing down the canal. I still can't believe the water that rushed through this island, she told ABC News. The wind was just scary. Stuff that you just wouldn't imagine blowing away, was blowing away. You can definitely feel when the eye of the hurricane got over Marathon, a city on the Keys, because the winds got violent and the windows started shaking for a good 10 minutes. But after that the wind didn't die down for the rest of the day, she said. It was really scary to think people stayed in homes that maybe weren't as sturdy as this one. It's scary. It's heart-wrenching. We lost some things, but we're alive, she said. Our house, the structure is unstable now, but we're fortunate enough we have most of our belongings and memories. You can replace little things, but you can't replace life. It's going to take a while to get things back to normal. As many as 25% of homes in the Keys were destroyed, Federal Emergency Management Agency Administrator Brock Long said Tuesday evening, and as many as 65% of homes suffered major damage. According to FEMA, 90% of homes in the Florida Keys suffered some damage. Officials from Monroe County were quick to counter FEMA estimates on Tuesday night, saying no official estimates of damage percentages or costs have been made. Things look real damaged from the air, but when you clear the trees and all the debris, it's not much damage to the houses, Monroe County Commissioner Heather Carruthers said in a statement released by the county Tuesday night. In a statement today the county said Monroe County inspectors have begun damage assessment inspections of the outside of private structures, beginning in Key Largo. Keys residents are now returning to their homes, with the Florida Department of Transportation saying all 42 bridges along US 1, the only road into and out of the Keys, have been inspected and cleared. The storm wiped out power to the Keys, but crews are quickly working to restore services. Keys Energy Services, which covers the south end of 7 Mile Bridge to Key West, has restored power to about 7% of its customers, the county said today, and Florida Keys Electric Coop, which services the rest of the Keys, has about 30% of its service area restored. Sean Sims, a resident of Isla Morada, told ABC News he evacuated for the storm and has since returned to his home, which has little damage. But for now, he said he is living in an RV because he doesn't have power or air conditioning. But Sims, a 15-year resident, isn't worried about how other Keys residents will fare in the recovery process. We're not going to wait for anyone to come down here and do it for us. Keys people are pretty resourceful. They're going to start cleaning up themselves and piecing together, he said. They've been through hurricanes before, and this is one of the worst ones down here, but it will come back stronger than ever, just like it did for Homestead, the South Miami neighborhood devastated by Hurricane Andrew in 1992. 8 patients at a Florida nursing home who spent days in sweltering heat died after Hurricane Irma knocked out their air conditioning. Fire rescue crews and police responded to the rehabilitation center at Hollywood Hills in Hollywood, Florida, early Wednesday morning after receiving calls of patients in distress. Hollywood Police Chief Thomas Sanchez said at a press conference that officers found extremely hot temperatures on the second floor. First responders ordered the nursing home evacuated. The nursing home had been without air conditioning since Irma knocked out electricity to the area. "What has happened here is inexcusable," Florida Senator Bill Nelson said Wednesday. "These kind of facilities should be regulated with a strong, tight rein, and it hasn't happened." Nelson spoke to the Secretary of Health and Human Services and urged that an investigation be opened. 3 patients died at the nursing home, and 3 others died Wednesday morning shortly after being transported to local hospitals. The Broward County Medical Examiner announced the deaths of 2 more patients Wednesday afternoon. "People are just absolutely shocked that someone in the staff would not know enough that a frail, elderly person is dying of heat exhaustion and would at least know to dial 911. This is what is inexcusable," Nelson said. "There will be an investigation here and we will get to the bottom of it." The facility's administrator, Jorge Carbolo, issued a statement Wednesday night saying, "The center and its medical and administrative staff diligently prepared for the impact of Hurricane Irma. We took part in emergency management preparedness calls with local and state emergency officials, other nursing homes and health regulators. While our center did not lose power during the storm, it did lose one transformer that powers the air conditioning unit." The center immediately contacted Florida Power and Light and continued to follow up with them for status updates on when repairs would be made. Outreach was also made to local emergency officials and first responders. In compliance with state regulations, the center did have a generator on standby in the event it would be needed to power life safety systems. The center also had 7 days of food, water, ice and other supplies, including gas for the generator. Additionally, when the transformer powering the AC went down, staff set up mobile cooling units and fans to cool the facility. "Our staff continually checked on our residents' well-being, our most important concern, to ensure they were hydrated and as comfortable as possible. We are devastated by these losses. We are fully cooperating with all authorities and regulators to assess what went wrong and to ensure our other residents are cared for." The 8 victims ranged in age from 70 to 99. They were identified by the Broward County Medical Examiner as Gail Nova, 70, Estella Hendricks, 71, Caroline Etherly, 78, Betty Hibbard, 84, Bobby Owens, 84, Miguel Antonio Franco, 92, Manuel Mario Medallita, 96, and Albertina Vega, 99. The evacuation included 115 patients from the nursing home and 18 from a nearby behavioral facility. The patients were transported to area hospitals, including Memorial Regional Hospital across the street. Florida Gov. Rick Scott said he was absolutely heartbroken over the deaths, calling the situation unfathomable. Scott said he was directing state agencies to work with local law enforcement to investigate the incident. "If they find that anyone wasn't acting in the best interests of the patients, we will hold them accountable to the fullest extent of the law," Scott said in a statement. He also directed Florida's Agency for Healthcare Administration to issue an emergency moratorium keeping the center from any more patients until the moratorium is lifted. The manager of the nursing home has a history of healthcare fraud accusations. Federal court records show the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami filed civil charges in 2004 against Drive, Jack Michelle, several other individuals, and several businesses, including Larkin Health Systems. Larkin Health Systems owns the rehabilitation center at Hollywood Hills. In 1997, before Michelle owned Larkin, federal prosecutors say he and others participated in a kickback scheme that involved paying doctors for referrals and admission to Larkin Community Hospital. Prosecutors say that after he bought the hospital in 1998, Michelle and others fraudulently increased the number of patients at the facility, along with their Medicare and Medicaid revenues, by bringing in patients from nursing homes and assisted living facilities. The case was settled in 2006 for $15.4 million. Aerial footage showed patients sitting outside in wheelchairs and others being taken out of the facility on stretchers. Drive. Randy Katz, the medical director of Memorial's emergency department, said at least a dozen patients remain in the emergency room. Most of the patients have been treated to respiratory distress, dehydration, heat-related issues, Katz said. Sanchez said police have opened a criminal investigation into the deaths. Sanchez said that officers and fire crews responded Wednesday morning to a call from the facility about some patients in need of critical care. Police officers are conducting welfare checks at 42 other nursing home and assisted living facilities across Hollywood. Josh Levy, the mayor of Hollywood, said he urged mayors and county commissioners across the state to urge residents to check on elderly neighbors in their communities. He said 32,000 homes and businesses in Hollywood were still without power. At least 32 people have died as a result of Irma in the U.S. There have been at least 43 deaths in the Caribbean. Residents struggling to put their lives back together have fallen victim to new hazards, including oppressive heat, brush clearing accidents, house fires and deadly fumes from generators. One person was found dead and 3 others were taken to the hospital for carbon monoxide poisoning in Daytona Beach, caused by fumes from a gas generator. Power outages continue to plague the state, with 4.4 million customers still without power as of Wednesday morning, according to the Florida Division of Emergency Management. More than 21,000 people remain in shelters across the state. In the Miami area, a Coral Gables apartment building was evacuated after authorities determined a lack of power made it unsafe for elderly tenants, while officers arrived at the huge Century Village retirement community in Pembroke Pines to help people on upper floors without access to working elevators. More than half the community of 15,000 residents lacked power. President Trump to visit Florida amid Irma recovery. Emergency workers around hurricane-scarred Florida worked to make sure elderly residents were safe, evacuating multiple assisted living facilities, after 8 people died in a sweltering nursing home that lost its air conditioning in the storm. In one of the latest actions to protect older residents, firefighters helped relocate 122 people late Wednesday from 2 assisted living centers near Orlando that had been without power since Hurricane Irma. Stepped-up efforts came after the 8 deaths at the rehabilitation center at Hollywood Hills, which shocked Florida's top leaders even as they surveyed destruction from a storm that spread its punishing effects across the entire state. Unfathomable, Governor Rick Scott said of the nursing home deaths. Inexcusable, U.S. Senator Bill Nelson added. In Coral Gables, an apartment building was evacuated after authorities said its lack of power made it unsafe for elderly tenants. And at the 15,000 resident Century Village retirement community in Pembroke Pines, where there were also widespread outages, rescue workers went door to door in the 94-degree heat checking on residents and bringing ice, water and meals. For the elderly outside assisted living facilities, such as 94-year-old Mary Delirota, getting help can depend on the attentiveness of neighbors, family and local authorities. The widow evacuated her Naples condominium with the help of police the day before the storm hit. After the hurricane passed, a deputy took her back home and another brought her food. A deacon from her Roman Catholic church has also stopped by. But with no family in the area and neighbors who are gone or unwilling to help, the New York native feels cut off from the world. I have nobody, she said. The electricity is out in her condo, so there's no television for news. She also can't raise the electric-powered hurricane shutters that cover her kitchen windows. Near the point of despair, remembering to take her medicine or locating her cane are almost insurmountable challenges. I don't know what to do. How am I going to last here? She said, as a tear rolled down her cheek. Though the number of people with electricity had improved from earlier in the week, some 6.8 million people across the peninsula continued to wait for power, and utility officials warned it could take a week or more for all areas to be back up and running. Including the nursing home deaths, at least 25 people in Florida have died under Irma-related circumstances, and 6 more in South Carolina and Georgia, many of them well after the storm had passed. The death toll across the Caribbean stood at 38. In Hollywood, the rehabilitation center said the hurricane had knocked out a transformer that powered the air conditioning. Broward County said the home alerted officials Tuesday that it had lost power, but when asked if it had any medical needs or emergencies, it did not request help. Early Wednesday morning, after responding to 3 calls about patients there in distress, firefighters went through the facility and found 3 people dead and evacuated more than 150 patients to hospitals, many on stretchers or in wheelchairs, authorities said. By the afternoon, 5 more had died. Others were treated for dehydration, breathing difficulties and other heat-related problems. Hollywood Police Chief Tom Sanchez said investigators believe the deaths at the rehabilitation center were heat-related and said a criminal investigation is underway. The chief said authorities have not ruled anything out in the deaths, including carbon monoxide poisoning from generators. Authorities performed safety checks on other facilities around the city Wednesday. Glendale Owens, the daughter of one of the men who died, said she visited her father in the nursing home Monday and everything seemed fine. She said Bobby Owens had been at the facility for more than 10 years.